Welcome to Build Out with Jim Kunkel, your go-to broadcast for learning more about business in the real world. Your host, Jim Kunkel, who is an accomplished professional in business development, sales, and marketing, and is a technical content creator along with being a rising influencer on LinkedIn. On Build Out, you'll get the latest information and knowledge from subject matter experts from across the globe. Okay, let's get this Build Out broadcast started. And here's your host, Jim Kunkel.
Welcome to another live episode of Build Out. So very honored today. I have a very good friend of mine, an excellent speaker, coach, podcaster, broadcaster, all the above, Shawn Watkins. Welcome.
Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Thank you so much, man, for that such eloquent introduction.
It's great to have you. You and I have known each other for some time. We have a mutual friend in Charlene Brown, which we're so proud and celebrate. And actually, next week she's going to be a guest to round out the month of talking about influencers. And before we get into our conversation, for those, and there are probably very few of them out there that don't know who Shawn Watkins, Mr. Vulnerability, is, if you could do a favor, your professional background, and also I'd like to know a little bit about where Mr. Vulnerability, where did that come from?
Yeah, awesome, man. For those who don't know me, or those who, first of all, I'll say with a slightness, for those who don't know me, you're doing LinkedIn wrong, because somewhere, some form, some fashion, you should have came across me as a connection with what I do. I am a DEI expert, but my emphasis is on vulnerability and leadership, and I target pretty much the equity piece in that, the DEI structure. I know DEI is so wide and it's bring to the forefront. The funny thing about it is that I've been talking about this for 30 plus years in corporate arena, and we've gotten so good at the diverse and the inclusion piece, but the equity hasn't caught up. And that's really what I do. And I tackle that through the vulnerability and leadership. So what really makes working with me from the advent of that is that I got a very diverse knowledge of diversity plus vulnerability equals inclusion. Kind of wrote a equation for that. And that's a lot of the work and research I did to create a lot of the programs that I offer. Work-wise, probably over the last 25 to 30 years, I probably trained over 1,000 leaders and serve as executive coach for about 200 senior execs. So those are the kind of things that I do. My clients are, and I always say this because I think it's needful to say, they're smart, successful leaders just like you. So they're not anyone that I'm trying to teach anything knowledge-based or expertise-based. But what I'm seeking to do is have them lead more authentically through the vulnerability piece of their leadership and engage, and that way build teams like that. So those are some of the things that I do on that. The vulnerability piece, being called Mr. Vulnerability, that was given to me by Charlene in the essence of I've been knowing her about 2+ years now. And of course, if you guys have been watching live streaming, we got about 3 or 4 shows that we do, and we garner that kind of thing. And she just popped it out one morning. She was like, and it was jokingly, I said something. She's like, "All right, Mr. Vulnerability," just like that in the essence of a response to me. And she was like, "Yo, you should use that." And I was like, "Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty quirky too." She was like, "No, just use it. Just start using it." And then I went and got the service mark, and I was like, I use it. I'll start using it. So and that's what I did. So that's how that came about. But like I said in my post I posted, she birthed that name, but the character of that person was developed a long time ago. Just learning to deal with some adversities and learning how vulnerability is a key structure foundation of which we can do to incorporate people in our lives that can be helps for us. And a lot of times we close those windows and doors to others so we can excel and grow.
Yeah, you're making such an impact. And the other thing too is I think the coaching that you've done, the leadership that you've developed and cultivated, that is really a strong testament to your commitment, to diversity, inclusion, and equity. And then also too, I think the broadcast, every morning I'm on that broadcast.
Yes.
I find a lot of value in it. So I encourage viewers after today's stream to go onto your profile, Charlene's profile, look at some of the replays. And then the other thing too is make sure you click attend for anything that's upcoming in future for you guys. Carl, before we got into launching the stream, I asked you an important question. If you are a coffee drinker, Are you a coffee drinker?
Yes, I'm a coffee drinker. I love French vanilla, whether it be latte or
Mm.
just regular coffee. Absolutely.
Perfect segue. So today's episode is brought to you by the good folks at Coffee Brand Coffee. They sell quality premium coffee. In the comments and also on the episode description, there is a discount link that you can get 10% off your first initial order with them. And also, too, you can help out this broadcast by kicking back a couple bucks. And I appreciate that. It kind of helps pay for some of the high-end stuff that's all around us right now. But
Yes.
Carl, before we get into our conversation about your background a little bit more in depth and detail, and then also talking about you as a broadcaster and influencer, if you could hold on for 1 minute.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the power of a great cup or mug of coffee. Coffee drinking dates back to at least the 15th century from the Sufi monasteries of Yemen. And by the 16th century, the practice of brewing and drinking coffee spread to Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia. Today, coffee is one of the most highly traded commodities, and after water, the most consumed global beverage. For many around the world, coffee helps start the day and provides a welcome physical and mental boost throughout the day. The official premium coffee of this broadcast comes from coffeebrandcoffee.com, who fresh roast coffee as orders come in. Please support this broadcast and my content by using the special build-out link to coffeebrandcoffee.com. Order some premium coffee and teas today and support Build-Out at the same time. Again, I appreciate any support of the broadcast by purchasing a Coffee Brand Coffee. Carl, let's jump into a little bit about the coaching that you do. The other thing about topics related to diversity, inclusion, and equity. Myself, I've gone through a lot of the DEI training as a manager and also a business leader. I'm a strong supporter of DEI, but it seems like there's still a lot more that needs to be done. You know, what's the current state of where we are with DEI initiatives and in the future?
I think the future is bright, if I could say that. I know that's cliche as it sounds, but I do think that the avant-garde of acknowledgement and self-awareness of it, it's still, I would really say it's still in its infancy as far as implementation. Yes, we've heard the terms, they've been around for years. We've tried to some extent to ingratiate them in the corporate level, in corporate functions, but we've gave that a pass, as in you can participate if you like. You can. I think we're moving toward the guardedness of this is going to be a must through corporate in
Mm-hmm.
some form or fashion, and we're going to get away from the simplicity of, okay, did you go to that meeting? Did you take notes? Did you get the printouts? Those kind of things. We're going to go more so to the fact that what I've been creating through the events that I have, the engagement, the activities, the role playing. Those things are going to be synonymous with DEI training going forward. Those initiatives are going to become part of mainstays where we would have maybe once a quarter someone would come out. And I know I've been in a lot of, I participate in a lot of them, and I've been the facilitator of a lot of them. Come out once a quarter, you get a bunch of people sign up if they want to. If they don't, they don't. And then if they come out, it's a one and done. Okay, they drop the notebook or the pad or whatever you give them, and they don't pick it up. Even if they keep it, they don't pick it up until the next quarter or the next time it comes around. I think the new initiatives that's coming forth now, it's going to be more with the engagement piece. It's going to be more with the upper echelon, because things does not work if leaders don't embrace that. So we're going to have to stop putting it on the underlings, and that's just the title I use for those who I call the worker bees. You're going to have to stop putting that onus on them to curate that. Leadership is going to have to curate that and continue to focus that. And it's going to have to be driven with results from leadership, with their participation, their true engagement, and their authenticity about making things better. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really what it's about, just the awareness of making situations better for those who want to succeed. And that's really why I jumped on that vulnerability piece. If we open up the aspects of who we are, then I can kind of understand who I'm leading, what I need to do for you versus what I need to do for one that's in my team that's a go-getter, that I don't have to give instructions to, that I don't have. I liken it to a college room, a college class. and you have the professor there, and the professor is knowledgeable about the subject, right? So
Mhm.
therefore, he's leading the class. But in that class, he's got jokesters. He got those that accelerate in learning. He got those that learn slow. He got those that may learn through doing. He got those that learn by reading. But his main job is not to concern himself with the learning and what goes on with that piece. His main job is to create learning for all of them to learn and pass the class. And in the essence of that, this is how we have to be as leaders. Yeah, you're going to have some that's you're never going to have to tell what to do when they come in for work. And then you have some that sit at the coffee machine way longer than they should be. And they should be at work, right? So you as a leader, we're forming, Jim, we're really forming the foundation of the next generation as leaders. And leaders don't like to take that on as that, oh, I'm not really doing that. I'm just managing reports, and I'm just overseeing and making things done, and I'm micromanaging to make sure we get reports and those kind of things done. You're actually giving opportunities when you're leading people
Mhm.
for people to say, yo, I want to learn this. I want to grow here. I want to be responsible for that. And then that goes the empowerment, because then you have a place to send people. Yo, I'm going to send you to this training. I know it's down there. I'm going to make room for you. Maybe you got to fly, overnight hotel, however that rings true. But I see that you're interested in that. When we start taking those kind of looks at the people that we're leading, you'll see a tremendous shift in the atmosphere of what DEI is providing.
Yeah, in my opinion, when I think
Mhm.
of diversity, inclusion, and equity, DEI,
Mhm.
organically, the growth has been slow. It has been
Yes.
there. And I think where the drive is going to focus in the future in North America, let's say in the United States,
Mhm.
we're not quite on board with the ESG, with these environmental, social, and governance
Yeah.
credits and scores. When ESGs become incorporated as part of a scheme for financing a company or anything related to the running of a company, operation of a company, I think everyone who's watching this broadcast knows when you have a requirement of a company, they will have to come into compliance. And so, what
Yes.
I see probably with DEI, what's going to be the big driver are these ESGs, because they do address the social and the governance side of the equation when it comes to them having a higher ESG score potentially. And then that opens up capital markets and things like that. The other aspect, I think, in my opinion, is that I think a lot of people don't really quite completely understand. And this is where you, as a coach, an
Mhm.
advocate, really, in a way, you're an evangelist when you're out there and you're talking to everyone.
Yeah.
And, you kind of covered a little bit about some of the reception and attitude.
Mhm.
What do you encourage myself or anyone watching this broadcast when it comes to EI? What should we, what, how should we kind of reframe everything? What should be our attitude or our mental status when we think of when we talk about DEI?
You hit it right on the head. As I did when I came into the field of talking about vulnerability, I kind of
Hmm.
took vulnerability as the weakness of perceivement of the perception of it being weak, and definitely even more so in the leadership realm. That term is sort of like what we used to say back in the day when people got cancer. We used to say the C word because we didn't really want to acknowledge the strength and power that cancer had, right? I kind of took that to the next avant-garde. Of course, I watched some of the training and some of the tutelage of what Brene Brown brought to the platform. The funny thing about that is she was given a platform to do that, and that springboard. I've been talking about what Brene Brown been talking about for over 30 years in corporate as African American leader. So those principles was not new to me as far as what they did. Our biggest difference that we had, I did that, and I wrote everything I wrote in all the notebooks and journals and blogs that I've written. All of that has been through course experience of an African American leader and what I've been subjected to. I hate to use that term. That's really what it was.
Yeah.
Subjected to and able to get things done as my white counterparts. And I never looked at it as the aspect of that because I was quite intelligent. I mean, I'm not shy to say it. I'm pretty well read and pretty versed in the things that I need to be. I do research. I study. Minorities for the most part. If anyone's watching this can understand this as well. We've always been taught to study extra hard because of the fact we didn't get those breaks, right? So that's been my makeup from birth, so to speak. So when I come into the fields, I'm already knowledgeable about the things that I'm really trying to make happen. But you not on the playing field of that. And that's where the equity piece, which I really drive. I'm not asking for a handout, never have, never will.
Hmm.
But what I'm asking for is a place at the table. And now we've come to the fact that how things have been, we're pushing people aside from the table. And that brings about the misunderstanding of DEI. So now you put it in the realm of, okay, well, I guess we got to give space to them now because this has happened, or the social network of the conscious that happened. George Floyd has happened. All of
Yeah.
these volcanoes of things has happened. So also we got to give them space.
Hmm.
That's not, and that's the misconception of what this really is all about. The diverse piece of it is that you bring something that I don't have, that I wasn't cultured in, that I was not aware in, and you're bringing
Hmm.
it to the table to help me achieve a goal. That's the diverse piece, right? The inclusion piece is that is saying, okay, it's my table. Let me make you a plate. Let me make you feel welcome. Let me invite you in. Let me let you taste this meal, right? And the vulnerability piece of that says that I'm taking ego out of it. And we're going to talk about the things that we don't have common ground on so we can seek common ground. And that's what I deal a lot with the equation that I wrote. A lot of it is that we're on the same page psychologically with things, but we're looking at it objectively from blind eyes.
Yeah.
You and I can have the same idea regardless of the color we are, and we can
Hmm.
work together and collaborate and accomplish that idea, bring it to fruition, right? So why should I have a different say about your idea because you don't look like me? Or,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I think a lot of times people view it as musical chairs. There's a
yeah.
limited amount of chairs. The music ends, we got to run and grab a chair, and it's like, no, 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 don't. The music keeps on playing. There are unlimited chairs. Don't view it that way. So
Mhm,
to your point, I think it's the reframing of the minds, and
mhm,
then also to the clearing up misconceptions and try to
yeah,
understand a little bit better the importance of DEI and really how it can benefit individuals, no matter what your background is, and then also for companies, how it can benefit companies and organizations as well. So, Carl, let's go ahead and move into a conversation related to some of the activities you do. And what I wanted to
okay.
do is, you have a summit that's coming up. Would you
Yes.
want to talk a little bit about Next Level Business Summit here?
Yes, next level. This is a venture that I wrote. Well, I actually wrote 3 or 4 summits, right? And I was looking for people to let's do this, right? Because of course you need the structure, you need the logistics, you need the ideas and the people in the same mindset. And of course, me and Charlene, we've kind of anchored a whole lot of things. And I ran this idea across maybe about a year ago now, and I was like, yo, we need to do a summit. And we tried with a few other people, to do it because we've done so many things as her and I. And when I looked at it, I was like, well, we need to broaden the scope and, not be this super producer where we're only producing each other's things, right? We need to engage others in their subject matters as well. And she had a couple of friends who we're doing this with, and she threw the idea across them, and I was like, oh wow, this is exactly what I need. And I look at the balance of it, and I say, yeah, I'm the only guy with 3 women, but I also look at the balance of what it is. We are a minority diverse foursome, right? With over 90 years of business strategies and business acumen. Like we've counted up the years we've been doing work and doing business and even having our own business. And we just had that in conversation. It's like, oh, we've been doing this like all of us collectively like 90 years. And that became our sticking point. And from that, we said, okay, that will be what we will put this 90 years of expertise in one location at one time on one stage, and we'll let businesses benefit from that. And we really derived from the R word, which was the recession. A lot of people don't want to admit that. They didn't want to actually use those terms per se. But I told them, I said, look, if I'm paying more for gas and more for milk when I go to the grocery store and I'm bringing home less bags and my car is less fuller, there's a recession in my money. So in essence of that, I know businesses are feeling it, especially small businesses. So we just created this around the key strategies that we've known that we've used to keep us going through tough situations. That's kind of like how we framed it. And in that, you get an opportunity to do a deep dive with us through the VIP session, where we allow you to bring your business plan or what you're doing, whether it's one that you're starting or one that you're in the thick of and you're kind of stuck. And we're going to give you some key strategies to move your particular business along. And we just thought I thought that was an awesome idea to do at a level and base where I'm not charging you like Les Brown or
Mhm.
Robbins, where it's $50,000 for you to come and sit in this seminar. We're going to sit with you on the stage, a Zoom stage, and we're going to dissect your business in 45 minutes. And we're going to give you the opportunity to take some of our strategies and quickly apply them and see how they work. And this was the idea that we kind of centered this around. And it's going to be an extraordinary event, one that's on this level I've never participated in, because I've always been on the other scale, and I've always been incorporated with someone else. But it's going to be a great thing to see something I've created, and with the help of Charlene and Donna and Michelle Rosario, have them on, and we're going to increase a lot of businesses this way.
Yeah, I believe that you and the other co-hosts are going to do a much better job than Tony Robbins or Shark Tank.
Yeah, because they really don't dive into those Shark Tank. And kudos to them, because I won't say I got the idea from them, but they pushed that idea that I had and the concept that I had. And I said, well, we're going to flip the script. We're going to do a deep dive into that, because we're going to have people bring their stuff and ideas. And it's not so much as we're going to write you a check and add or ask you for a percentage of your business like they do. What we're going to do is give you strategies to implement right then and there, right into that. Some things you can change from everything from content, messaging, all the way up until protecting your brand and trademarking. So we're taking you from inception to conclusion, and we're going to get you some stuff in there, man. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I highly encourage everyone to check out. Even if you have a small, you're a small business, you're a consultant, entrepreneur, whatever you are, even if you don't have to have a business plan review, check out the summit. Go to nextlevelbusinessmoves.com. It's coming up on September 24th. Is there a deadline for registration, or is it all the way up to the?
No, the deadline for registration is September 16th. So you guys got a few weeks left to do. We want to kind of wrap that up and do that last week. We want to do really a push. Of course, if people want to get in, we got the early bird special right now with things off. We got a lot of opportunities that we're availing in there. We got workbooks that we're creating for you to take notes during the conference. We're gonna have the individual things that you can work with us. It's going to be complimentary sessions that we're going to have. We're going to have consultations where it's going to be complimentary pricing for that to enter into some of our programs and actually work with us on a one-on-one level with particulars of your business. So it's going to be a great event, man. And I'm looking for it. I'm really excited about it, and I'm really trying to push that over the fact for not so much to get people in there, because we do content all the time on Real Talk. If you've ever watched our show, we're not stingy with information and content, but what we want to do is get it isolated to where we can really make difference. Because when you have lives like what we're doing now, some people listen, some people don't. Some people take notes, some people don't. But we want it to be not a missed opportunity for you to get some information, for you to utilize it and implement it.
Perfect segue. We're going to talk about Real Talk Live now. So I'm always curious when I talk to an influencer like you, a broadcaster, what was the genesis of Real Talk Live? Again, was this from Charlene, or do you get some? Were you the first person to think of this?
Yeah, I was. I hate taking credit for things because it makes you look so egotistic, right? Charlene was, and I've told her story before, so I know she doesn't mind me sharing a bit of it. We met in a video challenge that we were doing, 21-day video challenge. Back then when we did it, it wasn't as formidable as it is now. I think everybody's kind of like jumped on that, but we did this about almost 2 years ago, when people wasn't really doing videos on LinkedIn. And we entered in a challenge, and every day in this challenge, it was an hour meeting, a Zoom meeting, and we would draw up script and talk about, throw about ideas, about 20 or 30 people in the Zoom. And it was pretty creative, and we got creative with writing scripts and doing those things. But the big push of it was for you to engage and be video seen, right? And get your courage up so you can go do a video on your own. Well, Charlene kind of sat in this, and I know, so you guys, I don't know if this is an annoyance to you or not, because I know Zoom people think differently. She never showed her face in the Zoom for 21 days, right? So she interacted, she talked, she spoke, she put things in the chat and those kind of things, but we never saw Charlene. So I was like, oh, so at the end of the 21 days, and the lady was like, well, this is 21 to 1 that was running it. She's like, oh, it was awesome to do this. She's like, I'm doing it again next month if you guys want to come back in and do it again or whatever, right there. So I just kind of like put in a chat, like, who would like to see what Charlene looks like, right? Now, bear in mind, I had never met Charlene, and I didn't know her before this. We weren't connections. We weren't in the networks. To this day, I'm still not sure how me and her got into the group together as such. And what I thought as a little gesture of just pushing kind of envelope, because that's what I do. Uh, they kind of like joined in. So you imagine 20 or 30 people just all in the chat, just say, yeah, Charlene, like a Jerry Springer show, Charlene, Charlene, Charlene. So it kind of went, or at least I thought it kind of went out of hand. So no, she responded. She's laughed about it and goed about it, but she never showed herself. Right? I don't think that she never came on. So I think it was a couple of days later, long story short, she sent me an invite to connect. And I was like, oh, okay, I remember her. She was in the thing. And then it hit me like a cold shower. I was like, oh, but I pushed them people to I'm hoping she's not angry. I'm hoping, because I say I don't want this to turn, wrong. That wasn't my intent. And we got on and the Zoom, and she thanked me. She's like, I'm an introvert. She told me her story about not liking to do videos and all of that. And she said, thank you for pushing me out the envelope. She's like, I got on there. I didn't participate, and that wasn't what it was designed for. And I paid for it. And she just went all through that. And then from that, the ice was broke. And I was like, well, what do you do? And from there, she talked about it. And I say, well, who knows this? Like, you're a coder, you're an African-American woman, you've been at your business 20 plus years. Like, this is phenomenal. People need to know. Like, how do you get clients? She's like, I do word of mouth. I work for corporates and I do. And I was like, but nobody knows this. Like, we never knew none of that in the 21 days that you sat with us. Nobody. So my mind started racing because I'm a think tank guy. Like I said, okay, check this out. I said, I'm doing 3 shows right now. I had 3 shows of my own I was doing. I was like, I cut one because one I was kind of phasing out. I was like, let's do a show. I say, let's talk about topics. I say, we are first curated around you and I expertise. I say, I'll lead the conversation because I have no problem with asking questions and be a moderator. I say, I do that all the time. I do that. That's my thing. And I say, what I'll do is I'll curate all the content and information towards something that you and I can have a conversation on. I'll do the vulnerability piece in that. Whatever it is, I can match that. And I say, you do the technology and the logistics and the website piece, whatever you got, we can match that. And she was like, oh, that's a great idea. She was like, but I don't know about having conversations because I haven't done lives and all that. I was like, let me do that. I say, trust me with that. And that's how our relationship began. And now she produces about 2 or 3 shows. You see at the show, she talks as much as I do. She interviews and have questions as much as I do. It just takes a push, man. And sometimes us as leaders, we have to see that in people. Now, I would do those same kind of things in corporate and jobs I worked on to kind of get people, and it's about feeling, engaging, and being aware with people to say, okay, this one I think I can push out the cage. This one I might have to hug and walk them out the cage. And these are the things where, as leaders, we have to be mindful and aware of.
Yeah. So as an influencer, is there a lot of pressure, internal pressure, external pressure on you to produce content and to kind of take it up a notch? Do you have that pressure built on you at all?
I don't, and I don't say that egotistically. I say that in theory, because I'm a writer, and I get it's a couple of things that is special about me when I tell people, and I don't say that because I say it. I say that because life has told me that and shown me that. I got a dictionary as a kid at 6, so I started reading little Dr. Seuss books and Mickey Mouse books and all of those when I was young, real young. My dad actually read to me when I was in my mother's womb. I really never got that, but he told me that was the reason why I could hear and formulate words. And I'm not a scientist. I don't really know how that works, right? But I do know that I started reading early in school where most kids weren't. So I do know it's some truth to that. As about as much truth or percentage wise, I can't tell you, but I know it's truth to that because I started formulating in sentences and words and being able to articulate about 4 or 5 years old, right? More than just dad, mama. I was actually saying things and putting them in frames of thought. And I got a dictionary when I was 6 for Christmas. Like, I loved books, and I was one of the kids that went to the grocery store, and I got a magazine at the front, and I would flip through and look at that instead of grabbing the gum or the toy soldiers and things like that. So he gave me a book. He gave me a dictionary, and he made it a game. He said, you and I, he said, when I come home from work, he said, we'll go through it. We'll dissect it from the beginning to the end. And he said, I'll teach you how to say it, articulate it, spell it, and use it in a sentence. So that's really framework me from writing. So I've always been writing. So to me, content is life. I get up in the morning, there's an inspiration. I get up after I meditate and pray, there's a thought. I read something in my notification, my mind just sprouts off of that, and I just get stuff. So I never had that part that was a problem for me. So I don't feel pressure in the way that Most people they need prompts, or they have a white page and they're like, what am I on white today? I never have felt that, but there is a pressure to continue that I've learned to regulate, because people have been so much dependent on the things that I put out, which is great. You want people to be there. You want that audience, right? But there's also times when you say, I don't know, I'm not really feeling this kind of thing today. And I've had people address me on that. They send DMs, yo, man, I ain't see nothing from you today. I love reading your stuff. It's not, like
Yeah.
school teacher kind of thing, but it's sort of like, I get encouraged by your stuff. I'll get inspired. I didn't see it today. I was feeling this way. So I have put that on myself to say every day I'm going to inspire. Now, what that calls, how that looks, whether it be my live, whether it be me sharing a picture of me doing something, whether it be me giving an inspirational statement, a quote, I have made that a pressure.
Yeah. Your followers and your subscribers, your connections, they really help drive you, because
Yeah.
it's great when you hear stories of, I've benefited. A good example I always bring up is doing 2 suicide live streams talking about suicide within the construction industry, and how to deal with it, and having professionals on to talk about the topic, and having people reach out to not only myself but the co-hosts that were on there, and saying, I got a lot of value out of that. So glad that you brought this onto whatever streaming platform we were doing it on. And so I think that getting that feedback is really important and everything. So now that, for example, LinkedIn has more content creators on.
Mhm.
There are probably people watching that are also, they might be content creators with the YouTube channel, or they do stuff on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. And we were talking a little bit about TikTok. What recommendation do you have for someone who's thinking about putting content out there, who would like to be an influencer, maybe in their industry, or maybe based on a topic? We were talking about DEI or other type of focuses. What recommendations do you have for them?
We all have something that interests us, right?
Hmm.
Some of it can be malign, some of it can be morbid. We all have different things, right? But the avenues of social media has equipped all of us with a sort of like a license to do so, right? And it's an extension of our First Amendment rights, right? When I look at it from that advantage point, whatever whatever works well with you, and I say it in the essence of what relates to how you want to get your word out. Because when I first started talking about vulnerability, I went back to old school. I'm a 70s, 80s kid, right? Late 70s, early 80s is pretty much when I did a lot of growing up. So like Run DMC, the rap battles, those are a big intricate part of my life. So when I start sharing some of my vulnerability views, the first thing people would shoot at me is that, yo, you're not Brene Brown. We haven't heard of you. You haven't written any books, right? So I was like, oh, okay, this is how I do it. As the rappers did back then, if I was not known, I would write a rap about the one that is known. And I would come at that one's neck, so to speak, right? So that's what I did. My first few posts just went at Brene Brown. I think my very first one about 3+ years ago was a chart with sort of like set up with like pros and cons, but I put my name on one side, her name on the other. And I kind of went through 4 or 5 of her accomplishments and how she did them and how she went to get them. And then I went through 4 or 5 of my life points as examples of. And at the bottom of that, I put on her side, I think I put on her side, researched, interviewed, and book written.
Hmm.
This is how she explains vulnerability. On my side, I put life lessons, life learned, life lived. It's my vulnerability. And from that, that's pretty much got it, because I got a lot of juices in it. I got a lot of DMs. It's like, well, who are you? Like, we don't know who you are. And this lady got 1,000,000+ followers, and you got, like, at that point in time, I don't even think I had 4 or 5,000, even if I had that. And so I got a lot of, I wouldn't necessarily wouldn't categorize it as hate mail or hate DMs, but I got a lot of people's
Yeah.
attention. And I said, okay, the battle is on. Now, it never turned to be a battle with
Hmm.
me against Brene. That wasn't the objectivity in that. What it was that I wanted to create an interest as to how I was going to start changing your narrative of vulnerability. And from that point of that audience getting that, I start writing all the positive stuff that you don't see in Merriam-Webster's definition of vulnerability. I start writing all the pros about what it means to be vulnerable, how it means, how you can embrace it, how you live with it. I started giving the 1, 2, 3 steps. I start putting embracing. I start putting all of those things of which I've written down for so many years, and I've actually done with people before I even got a business, before I even called myself an entrepreneur. I was doing these exercises with people. And I said, this is how I'm going to get it in. This is my segue. So when people were hollering about niche, I already had a niche. I just didn't know how to kind of like sew it in, right? And LinkedIn gave me that avenue. It was meanness to some point, but it was no meanness. There was always support. There was always someone that encouraged what I was writing. And that gave me the confidence to keep going. So if anyone's starting out, start whatever ails you to go back through. Just a lot of that example I've just showed you, whatever it is, whether you write, start blogging it. If you don't want to do a blog on a consistent basis, start posting your thoughts, start getting interaction, start doing polls, ask questions, do polls on things you want to talk about, engage. There's always someone there that needs what you have, but they're just looking for where it's at and how to get access to it. And that's what I opened up when I started doing it. So if you're a YouTuber, get on there and start talking about the stuff you want to have conversations about. They'll come. If somebody want to have that conversation, they'll be there. I'm not a big fan of if you build it, they will come. But I know there's points and places in that there's some truth and validity. If you start building that, because people say, man, you got to find your audience. You got to find your audience. I never co-signed that. I said my audience will find me. All I have to do is speak. And they'll find me. So if you're not doing it now, start writing about what you want to talk about. Start having conversations. Get a live stream. A lot of people I know started out, they get a live stream, they go on by themselves, they talk about 10 minutes about what they love, and they come off the live stream. People are engaged. So that's what I would give as a gift to get started. Yeah, you're not gonna get there by just thinking about it. Just start. Write something crazy, post it, see what the reactions are. That's what I did.
Yeah, great advice from Mr. Vulnerability.
Yes.
Carl, what an awesome conversation we've had this afternoon.
Awesome, yes.
And so for the viewers who want to get in contact with you, we have your website address, your Instagram, and everything like that. What are the best ways to communicate with you, get contact with you, and then also too, when it comes to the broadcast, what's the best ways to see Real Talk Live and other broadcasts?
Yes, Real Talk. I'm going to put it in the link. I'm surprised I didn't put that in there. It's like my second name. I'm going to put that in there. Real Talk Live broadcast. We do have a LinkedIn showcase page. Go by the page and do subscribe to there. Charlene does great work on there. We're doing clips. We're putting information on there. We're putting like a TV guide kind of thing together of what you can expect for the week. Like we're really getting real fancy, as I tell her on that end, because I'm not the logistic guy. I got the ideas, and she's like, okay, well, let me see how I can put that together. That's how our relationships work. And it's so awesome to be able to do that with someone and then to actually see the things that's going around in your head come out, where it's a vision of what you've seen. And it's so great. Go to the website. That's really where I curate a lot of my things. Read my blogs, learn about me. I also write, I got two article pages that I write, Vulnerability and Leadership, where I write a lot about my central thoughts of how vulnerability in leadership is so essential and so important and such a leadership trait that you're going to have to lead. And the funny thing about it is I really started initiating that for C-suiters, but it really goes down to the leader you are. You are your own leader, whether it's a title given to you or whether it's your name on the door. Leadership starts with you. You're the leader of your life. You're the leader of your home. You're the leader of your family. If you have family, your spouse, your partners, you are the leader. So it starts with that. So the mindset, take from that into your corporate arena. That's really what I preach and teach. So you can go find me there, CarlShawnWatkins.com. I'm always on LinkedIn. I got like about 4 shows actually that I do. On there, you can check me out at Carl Shawn Watkins. That's my LinkedIn page. Also, check out me. Oh, man, so many places to check me out. I got a business page, Carl Shawn Watkins Consultant. That's a LinkedIn business page. Vulnerability and Leadership is my other page that's on there. So I got a lot of avenues to check. And you can also see I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well at Carl Shawn Watkins Consultant. So those are all the avenues you can check me out. If you don't know none of those avenues, Google Carl Shawn Watkins. You can see my work even on Google. I'm up on the first page of Google. I'm proud to say that. I didn't know what that meant at first, but feels nice for people to say, "Hey, I saw you on Google." So it's a good thing. So you guys can get in touch with me, see how you can work with me, see how I can impact your life, and make your life living a legacy. That's really what it's about.
Excellent. Everyone, make sure you check out Shawn Watkins, Mr. Vulnerability. Next Wednesday, the next live guest I have is going to be Charlene Brown, and we're going to be talking. Yeah, we're going to be talking to her, and maybe she can give us some of the behind the scenes dirt on you.
Yeah, she tell me
the controversies or anything like that.
yeah. She keeps me straight, but I can say our relationship is older brother, because I'm quite a few years older than her. So I say older brother, little sister thing. You know what I mean? I can pick on her and talk about it, but I won't let nobody else do it. But she keeps me in line too, because she always gets me to the frame. I got a sister about just a couple of years younger than her. So I got a sister, and it always gets to the point of where she gets to that, I'm gonna tell mom. So I kind of get that kind of relationship with me and Charlene when we get to a point and I see her face. I was like, "Oh, is that a tell mom moment? Because I think I hurt your feelings. Is that one of those?" So, yeah, so we got a lovely relationship though. We do work and we're serious about what we're doing, and we want to make changes, man. Just like you're doing, man, to build out live stream, getting influencers on, giving them an opportunity to do that. And we're gonna have you on our show as well. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, man. So people could go into the realm of what Jim does and get that down as well, because we definitely want to pass the scope around and let everybody get in the microscope so everybody can see what you bring and who you are.
Perfect. Carl, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity today, and everyone, I'll see you next Wednesday, and also look forward to some announcements of new live chat coming from myself. And other things on various platforms. So everyone have a good rest of your week.
All right, you guys have a good rest of your week.
I hope you found value with today's Build Out broadcast. Make sure you connect with Jim on LinkedIn and subscribe to his YouTube channel. This way you'll be notified on new live streams and when new content is released. Please give today's broadcast a like and share with your connections and colleagues. Thanks for watching, and please visit buildoutproductions.com for additional content and to join the mailing list so you can keep updated on other streams and quality content from the creators on the Build Out Productions team.